Have you ever noticed how some decisions and some actions can feel terrifying to one person and completely obvious to another person, like raising prices, taking leadership positions, keynote speaking, speaking with authority, stepping into higher visibility? The difference between these types of people is not courage and it's not skill either. It is identity and specifically personal power and conviction. Because what feels natural or terrifying to you is determined by the internal standard that you've built around who you are and what is normal for you. So, welcome back to the Full Body Yes podcast, my loves. We are in the series that breaks down the PIF framework. This is the framework that I use myself and with clients every single day to take their vision, to take their potential, and turn that into their tangible reality. Now, PIF stands for physical action, identity, and frequency. 2 episodes ago, I broke down the framework and explained to you why it is necessary. And in the previous episode, we talked about frequency in more detail. So if this is the first episode you are tuning into in the series, I highly recommend going back 2 episodes just to make sure that you really understand the context, because today we are diving into the I in PIF, which is identity. But specifically with the types of clients that I work with, we don't just talk about identity. Identity has become this hype word in the last few years. A lot of mindset coaches use it, manifestation coaches, even fitness coaches, all different types of coaches, mentors, and leaders use the term identity. Now, obviously, I am using it as well. I use it as well in the PIF framework, but I want to emphasize that specifically when it comes to the types of people that I work with who are leaders, visionaries, business owners, ambitious people who have big dreams and goals that they want to bring into fruition, for them, it's not enough to do the kind of traditional identity work that we see in personal development books and programs where you dig into limiting beliefs and you journal about how they came about and how you can replace them. Like, that is very, very basic, superficial level of identity work. And while it might be helpful to someone who is brand new to personal development and inner work and inner progress, it is not enough to take you from there to your business being full-time and you being fully convicted in what you do. So when I say identity, I mean specifically personal power, deep personal power and personal conviction, and riding that personal conviction into your creator field. The creator field is your electromagnetic field. It is the energetic field that surrounds each and every one of us, that writes the script for how people, situations, events, opportunities, money, clients, everything, how all of these things around us are going to treat us. And what writes these things in the creator field is our frequency, our identity, and our actions as well. So today we are breaking down identity, specifically our conviction in ourselves, in our service, and in our product. Now, I want to start by even just breaking down identity. When I say identity, I actually mean self-image. I did a whole episode on self-image quite a few months ago that I will link in the show notes or description box. It is a really good episode. I got really good feedback about it, and it really explains to you how your business can never grow beyond the level of your self-image. But we will talk about this a bit more in a few minutes. First, I want to talk about what self-image is. Self-image is broken down into two things. First of all, it is how you see yourself, how you perceive yourself, what you believe to be true about yourself. And the second part of self-image is how you believe other people perceive you. And this one's important because it's not just how you see yourself, it's also how you think other people see you. And underline the word think, because it's not necessarily what people actually think about you. People can think, believe, perceive you in a specific way, and you will actually think that they think differently about you, but how you think they perceive you, how you think they see you, will have an impact on your levels of self-image. Now, you can never act and see results that are above the level of your self-image, above the level of your identity. Now, as you may or may not know, I'm an intuitive reader, and when clients come to me, I can intuitively look into the percentages of a lot of different things, and one of them is their level of self-image, either in general or in a specific area of life. There are 8 areas of life. You can have a very high self-image in one area and a very low in a different one. I've spoken about this before, how when I first even heard about at the self-image work, I thought I didn't need it because I was so deeply immersed in the academic world. At that point, I was still doing my PhD. I was still teaching in academia. I was a teacher, a lecturer, and a master's degree. I have always seen massive success in everything to do with academia. So I thought mistakenly that I have a very high self-image and very, high confidence. I do not need to work on my self-image. And that is because I have never really encountered any challenges in academia. And thank God I, have connected more and more to my soul's work and my soul pull, because if I would have just continued my path in academia when, there are not many challenges, I probably would have been miserable, because when you actually find the areas when your self-image is low and you become aware of this work, that is when your life can quantum leap massively. And you can, I do not recognize who I was a year ago, 3 years ago, and 5 years ago. I do not recognize her. The levels of quantum jumps, quantum leaps, and just success that I have seen, even in the last 6 months alone, are insane. And it's all due to self-image work, personal conviction, and personal power. So as I started to say, when I first heard about this work, I thought I didn't need it because I just had all of this proof that I was so good at what I did. I was so good at my PhD. I just found it a breeze. Honestly, I did not find it difficult to write my PhD. I did not find the final exam difficult. And I'm not saying all of this to brag. I'm just saying this to show you how one area of life, in my case, in that case, it was the mental area of life, I had an incredibly high self-image. But as I started my previous business, which was online health and fitness coaching, I was facing a lot of challenges, both in the business, but also in breaking through an income ceiling. And that is when I realized, as I was diving deeper into this work of self-image, that I had a very low self-image around finances, around money. And that is something that's really important for me to say here, because you might think you have a high self-image, you might think you're very convicted in yourself, but that might be true to one area of life and not the other. We, of course, always aspire to have a high self-image in all 8 areas of life. This is a lifelong work. It's not something that you can achieve in 1 year, and you don't want to achieve it in 1 year, because if you had 100% self-image in all 8 areas of life, you would die, because there would be no purpose to life. The purpose of life is actually increasing your self-image and increasing your balance in all 8 areas of life. Now, what I want you to understand is that your level of self-image, and specifically you people listening to this, are people with businesses, with visions, with ambitious goals. Your levels of personal conviction, how convicted you are in who you are, what you do, who you are here to serve, the value that you bring into the world, and the fact that your solution is the best solution out there for your people, the levels that you are convicted are the levels that you will see results. Meaning, if you are only 25% convicted in the fact that you are incredible at what you do and you can provide incredible solutions, you will only be able to see 25% of the 100% results that you are actually worthy of and you actually deserve, and that actually exist in your potential. Now, your levels of self-image, of identity, of personal power and conviction actually determine what kind of treatment you subconsciously signal to the world, the kind of broadcast that you send out to the world, and in turn, the way that other people around you will treat you. We talked about the creator field just a few minutes ago. And actually, in the previous episode, when we broke down frequency, I told you that the 3 pillars of the PIF framework, the physical actions, the identity, and the frequency, they do not sit neatly and tightly in different areas, right? They intertwine. And one area of frequency that is very, very important is the frequency that you send out about who you believe yourself to be. And this is where this area of self-conviction, self-power, self-image really comes in. If you are a business owner, a service provider, a public speaker, you have a product that you want to sell, or whatever it is, but your levels of conviction are not super high, meaning you do not believe that you are the best of the best at what you do. You do not believe that you have the perfect solution for your dream clients, then your potential clients will sense that and they will not pay you the kind of prices that you might actually deserve based on who you are, based on your experience. They will sense energetically through the broadcast that you are sending out that you are not fully convicted in your work and your value in your product, whatever that is. They will pick up on that energetically, because we all can pick up on things energetically. That really is what intuition is. And they will not pay you. They will not buy from you, or at least not as many people as should be. So I want you to think about, maybe you have like 100 clients in your pipeline that technically could be dream clients. They need the solution that you have, and they might already be in your audience. But if your levels of believing that you truly can give the best service, that you really are who you are is the best solution, they should invest their money in you before they invested in holidays, before they invested in tech for the business, before they invested in, I don't know, just savings, put it into savings. They need to believe that you and investing in you is worth it more for them than actually investing in all of those other things. If you don't believe that you are worthy of that, they will pick up on that. And out of those 100 people, maybe only 10 or maybe 20 will become your clients, even though all those other people are in the pipeline, but you are not convicted enough to actually energetically convince them. Now, I'm sure you have seen that too. I'm sure you have seen people online who maybe you enjoy their content somewhat. Maybe you even wanted to work with them, but something blocked you. And maybe you didn't even realize that consciously, but now if you go back and think about it, you might realize, oh, okay, they did not actually believe in themselves enough to convince me that I should believe in them. Someone's coming to mind for me now, not someone that I was thinking of working with, but someone who works with a mentor that I've worked with in the past. And you can tell she is very eager, very ambitious. She has big goals for herself. And again, she has worked with a very, very successful business coach that I have worked with in the past. So you can tell her graphics are beautiful. You can tell she has done a lot of work on her marketing. And still, just looking in intuitively, I don't actually know this factually, but I do intuitively, which I see as a fact. I know intuitively that her business is not successful, that she does not have clients. And why is that? That is because I can just pick up energetically and intuitively that she does not actually believe in the value that she holds. And actually now, as I'm saying this, I remember I picked up on that last year already. Like whenever I saw her content, I was like, oh, like, I so want her to succeed, but you can just so pick up on the fact that she does not believe that she can succeed. I saw that a few months later, she actually shifted her content and she said that as well. Like she was very honest with her audience and said, listen, I've been trying to sell this thing to you, but actually I have not felt good enough. I have not felt like I can do that. Unfortunately though, a few months later, she is still there. I can just see that intuitively. And that is because she is not aware enough of the kind of work that actually works to bring up your levels of self-image, of personal conviction, and of personal power. Your traditional self-development work, as I said, journaling about your limiting beliefs, is not going to help you there. It is, in general, not very helpful, but especially not when you want to raise your personal conviction and personal power. Okay, there is a difference between personal development, kind of like releasing blocks and traumas from the past. That is good. That is the very first stage. But in order to be an incredibly successful visionary business owner, public speaker, book author, whatever it is that you want to do, it is not enough to just slowly release limiting beliefs. You need to plug in the exact ingredients and the exact qualities that will actually signal to the world that you are the solution for their problems. Now, I do want to just pause here for a second because I know I use the words best of the best quite a lot. Best of the best at what, like the fact that you need to believe that you are the best of the best at what you do and that you can provide the best service or the best product, the perfect solution for what your people need. And I want to pause here for a second because I have had a few clients who initially struggled with this concept because they were like, listen, I can try and think that I'm the best of the best, but the truth is I am not. How can I believe it? There are people who have been doing this for 30 and 40 years. There's Tony Robbins, there's Alex Hormozy, or all of these people who have been incredibly successful. How can I believe that I am better than them? I can tell you myself, I initially struggled to figure out how can I be better than my mentor who charges thousands and thousands of dollars per hour, who has months of wait lists just to have a single session with him. How can I bring bring myself to believe that I am better than him with a lot less experience, a lot less people in the wait list, my skill not being at his level, obviously, because I am learning from him all the time, and also still not being at the point of charging what he charges? How can I bring myself to believe that I am the best of the best? What I want you to understand here is that you are a category of one. This means that you are the best of the best at being you. Okay. I am not saying that I am the best intuitive reader in the world, but I am the best of the best at being Shiri, the intuitive reader. I am the best of the best solution for my clients specifically. Each and every person is 1 in 8 billion special. Okay, you would not come into this world if there wasn't something unique that you needed to bring into this world, that you needed to come into this world with, that you needed to contribute into this world. And this is something that I want you to remember. And it's something that I drill into my clients. And once we truly have that understanding and we use my tools, my energetic tools, my neuroscience tools, and of course, physical action as well. Once we use those tools to really drill that in, that we are the best of the best at being us, that no one can do what we do like we do. Even our mentors, even our coaches, even Tony Robbins or anyone else that you look up to, they would not be able to do what you specifically do better than you. Okay. And this is something that's really important for me to emphasize again, because when people hear best of the best, that can be a bit difficult to grasp and difficult to wrap your head around. So this is just something for you to remember. You can actually find ways for how you are better than your mentors and better than your coaches. And that doesn't mean that your skill necessarily is better than theirs or that your confidence is higher than theirs, but that means that you do something that they do not. The recipe of who you are, your different qualities, attributes, your different experiences, the different qualifications that you've gathered over the years and skills, they would still be different. They would still create a different recipe than that of your mentors, that of anyone else that you look up to. And that's what makes you the best of the best, because no one else has the experiences, the skills, the attributes that you have. And knowing this personal conviction that you truly are the best of the best and that no one else in this world can do what you do, that your solution truly is the best of the best for your ideal clients, that writes in your creator field this incredible broadcast and incredible message that the value that you bring, no one else and nothing else can bring. This means that when you are truly, truly rooted, when your levels of personal power and conviction cross the 80%, 90%, what happens is, and all of this happens subconsciously and energetically, your ideal clients will feel the urge and the pull to work with you and to pay you above saving the money, above investing it in their business, above investing it in clothes or anything else that they might want to do otherwise. They just feel this conviction from you. They feel that your solution is the best for them, that your value is the best for them. And you don't need to say a word for that. Well, you do, because that's part of the physical action, but they will actually feel that before they necessarily look at your website or before they read your content, because it is written in your creator field. Once it is written in your creator field, and you have this deeply seated, deeply rooted belief that your solution is the best for people out there, for your people out there specifically, they will just not be able to ignore it. They will just pull out their wallets and say, take my money, because this is what happens when your personal conviction is high. And I want you to understand that if this is something that they pick up on energetically and subconsciously before they even read your content, and I'm sure you know that when you want to work with someone so much that you start reading, let's say their sales page, but you already know you're going to work with them. You're just trying to convince yourself even more, right? That is because their levels of self-image in that area are very, very high. So if this is something that people pick up on energetically before they even read your content, this means that this is such a foundational tool and skill that you cannot skip. And this is where people go wrong a lot of the times. And this is where I have gone wrong in the past. They will hire marketing coaches and business coaches, and they will follow all the strategy to a T. They will use content templates, and they will use proven funnels and ads, and still things will not necessarily work for them. And that is because their levels of self-image and self-conviction are not high enough. Of course, in addition to the frequency, which we talked about last week. This is why, again, if you haven't listened to last week, you need to go back and listen, because that will give you the full picture together with next week's episode, which will discuss physical action. But this is where a lot of people go wrong. And again, this is where I have gone wrong. I have been in business mentorships, in marketing programs, and Everything that I did gave me incredible knowledge I still carry with me today, but that knowledge has only worked for me in the last year, and specifically in the last few months where business is really, really growing and I'm getting more and more clients, more people finding me, more referrals. All of that knowledge that I gained then is only starting to work now, even though I already had that knowledge back then. I already implemented the knowledge back then. Still, it is only working for me now. And that is because my frequency is broadcasting. I am convicted and I am the best of the best at what I do. You need me. That is what I am broadcasting. So what I want you to understand is that a lack of conviction at what you do will always weaken your signal. No matter what, you can use all the best strategy. But if you do not believe that what you have to give to your clients, to your people is of incredible value, your results will never match your potential and your aspirations. Now, when you are truly rooted in your value, in the solution that you have, that you know can truly change people's lives, even if that is just making ice cream, okay? Everything that you do can be the perfect solution for someone's life, for specifically what they are struggling with and for their top values. When you are truly rooted in the value that your service or your product brings into the world, raising your prices will feel natural, and people will hear your prices even if they feel initially high to you or to them, and they will think that it is worth it. They will not flinch. They will be like, well, of course, someone of this level will charge this much. You will find it easier to pitch and to sell your work because you're not coming from a point of, oh, look at me, I might be able to help you. You're coming from a place of, first of all, I know what I'm worth. And second of all, not even from the place of wanting the money, from a place of, you know, your value is so incredible. Your service, your product can literally change someone's life, that you will see pitching and selling not as something sleazy or as something that you have to apologize for, but literally as something that is community service, that is service to the world, even if it's going to cost them money. Because listen, life change costs money. And I can tell you myself, when I have paid a lot of money to coaches, mentors, therapists, whatever that is, I put in the work and my life changed accordingly. When, however, I paid low prices for things, or I just got access to free trainings and stuff, that is when most of the time I barely even watch that, because if it's free, you do not give it as much attention and as much value. Okay. So I do not want you to think that charging a lot is not fair because you truly have something that will change people's lives. I can tell you that if someone wants your service or your product, they will find a way to pay for it if they believe that it will change their life, that it will solve their problems. And that depends on whether you believe you can change their lives and solve their problems. Now, I do want to say something about pricing here, because when I started selling my intuitive reads just over a year ago, I initially charged, I think it was $50 something or $60 something for a read. And then I worked with a business mentor for a week who told me that she saw the price and that she personally would never see me as someone valuable enough. And that's funny because there are kind of two sides to the coin here, because I do hear what she's saying. She was like, well, if I saw someone who only charges like $50 or $60 something for an intuitive read, I would think they don't know what they're doing. They don't believe in themselves. I don't want to pay them because they're probably not very good. So she got me to increase it to like $500. I did that for a few days and that felt so uncomfortable. And then I brought it down to, I think, somewhere around $100. And that felt right to me. And that was, by the way, after a few reads that I had already done on that original price. Now, there are things to be said for both sides, because yes, when someone charges very low, you will immediately think they are probably not that great or not that experienced. But you know what? I wasn't. Like, I was good. I wasn't that experienced. So I don't really agree with that point of just inflating your prices and making them so high straight off the bat, because you actually need to become great at what you do. If we need to go back to you needing to truly believe that you are the best of the best at what you do, part of that is actually have the skill and the experience. And that is something that I've seen a lot in the coaching industry, of people just telling you straight off the bat to charge crazy prices, because that way people will value you. And that way people will, put in the work. And again, there is something to be said about that, but there's also something to be said about actually earning the right to charge that much. And part of it is getting the experience. You will never believe you truly are the best of the best and that you truly are worth those prices if you don't get the experience. So when I just started practicing my intuition with my first mentor, I initially gave everyone a free read. All of my friends, all of my family, all the people that I met in that course gave as many free reads as I could. Then after that, I started selling them for, as I said, I don't remember if it was 50 or 60 something dollars. And nowadays I charge $222 for a 30 to 40 minute intuitive read. But that has happened after over a year of constant practice every single day, learning from a few mentors, practicing and practicing and practicing more and more and more on myself and on clients and on friends and on family. So I do not believe in you just charging crazy prices from the beginning, or like doubling or tripling your prices from the beginning, because if you will not be able to root into the fact that your solution is worth that price, your clients or your potential clients will not believe that either. So when it comes to personal conviction, there is a lot of inner work that needs to be done, inner worth work, which again doesn't come from journaling about limiting beliefs. It comes from very precise neuroscience and energetic tools, but it also comes from being a master at your craft. And that requires time, that requires practice, and that requires experience. So I just thought I would put that out there, because if you just started at something, or even if you've been learning it for a few years, but you haven't had that much experience, you have not yet earned the right to charge a lot. And if you did start by charging a lot, your personal conviction levels would actually go down. So it's important to also charge what you can truly root into. Now, if we go back to my own story and my own business, when I started over a year ago, even when I was charging 50 or 60 something dollars, I had a few people buy here and there. Was it constantly flooding? No, and that was okay. I was just starting out. I was just getting into my conviction in the work. But over the last year, with practicing intuition constantly and with doing a lot of personal conviction, personal power work, using precise energetic and neuroscience tools, now I'm getting people contacting me daily for intuitive reads and for sessions. I'm getting referrals happening constantly. And that is because my levels of personal conviction, I can tell you specifically intuitively, in the last 3 months, they have increased amazingly. And like, again, I'm saying that intuitively, but honestly, you could just see that by looking at the numbers that the business is bringing in, because as I said, the results, the money, the number of clients, whatever that is, will always reflect your levels of personal power and personal conviction. You could see by just looking at the numbers that the business is bringing in terms of number of clients, in terms of income that's coming in, that my levels of personal conviction have increased dramatically in the last few months. And that is thanks to the work that I have been doing, which I started probably nearly 2 years ago. So I want you to understand that this is not a fast process. And this is what I always say to my clients too. People think that quantum leaps is just overnight success. It's not. I like using the metaphor of the bamboo tree, of how it grows roots for years and years and years, but you don't see anything over ground. And then suddenly, just one day or one night, it just shoots up a few feet. So that is how I like to describe this work, because yes, sometimes it could happen faster depending again on your starting point, because if your starting point was already 60 or 70%, you can get to the 90% quite quickly and then see the results in real life quickly as well. But if you're starting at a very, very low level of self-image, like I did in the vocation area of life and in the financial area of life, that will take longer. That will take listening to your intuition, understanding what you need to do, pivoting constantly. I have pivoted so much in my business since I started the self-image work, but it probably wouldn't have happened this way if I hadn't done the self-image work, because getting to know myself more and getting to increase my self-image, suddenly I realized, if we go back to a year and a few months ago, that online fitness coaching doesn't match my level of who I am and the value that I can provide into this world. So it all just intertwines and helps, all those different things just help each other. And eventually what happened is, in the last 3 months, I have become this bamboo tree who suddenly shot up after over a year or nearly 2 years of constant self-image work and personal power and conviction. And that happens when you really commit to that work, when you do the daily work on your frequency, on the value that you bring into this world, both in terms of believing in the value and in terms of practicing and actually refining your skill and making sure the value is absolutely incredible. But when those levels suddenly hit 80s and 90s, that is when your external reality changes, and then it feels so worth it. And that's what I kept telling myself when I didn't see the results happening. When I shut down one business and started a new business, well, obviously the new business wasn't making as much as the old business was, but I just just knew that it wasn't in alignment with me and the value that I was meant to bring into this world. So my personal conviction, even when I started this business, was probably higher than it was when I had a full roster of clients in my fitness coaching business, because I already knew that I was bringing in more value, more of my true soul value into the world. But it took time. It took time. It took a lot of physical action. It took recording podcast episodes week after week. It took rooting into my skills as a coach, as a mentor, as a leader, as an intuitive reader, as a subconscious rewiring mentor, as a human design reader, and all of those other things that I do. It took experience with every single session that I have done for a client, whether that was a live session or an intuitive reading session. I gained more and more experience, and as a result, more personal conviction. When I look back on sessions that I give clients in the summer or in the autumn, the level of coaching that I provide now is so much higher. And that is because of this experience that I have gained over time, and because of this personal power and personal conviction work that I have done. Now, theoretically, could I have succeeded without doing the inner work, with just getting the experience with clients and just kind of refining my skill? Yes, it just probably would have taken longer. Okay. A lot of people in the world don't necessarily know about this work that I'm talking to you about now, which is rooting into your personal power and conviction through very precise, customized, energetic, and neuroscience tools. A lot of people don't know. Most people, most millionaires and billionaires that you see out there, have not done this work, but they did it on a subconscious level. They did it without realizing they were doing it. Or maybe sometimes they were just born with it, and that is because it was in their soul contract to just be so rooted in their worth and value from the beginning. But a lot of them just did it without knowing they were doing it. And if they had known about this work and done the work actively, their success would have come sooner too. So a lot of people think that identity work, self-image work is this like very abstract theoretical work. But when you do it alongside the physical action of promoting yourself, of selling, of pitching, and of course of gaining experience and mastering your craft, that is when you can truly accelerate your timeline, because you are doing this work on a conscious level. You are not doing it on a subconscious level without realizing, without intending to, which would take longer. You are doing it very consciously every single day. You are learning to notice when your levels of personal power drop, and you know exactly, you have the right tools for you on how to increase them. That is when your success accelerates massively. Now, another thing that a high level of self-image, personal power, and conviction helps with is boundaries and tolerance levels. It determines what you accept from clients and from people around you, what you negotiate, what kind of offers you decline, how you make decisions, and the kinds of decisions that you make. And eventually, it helps you lead a better quality life, because you do not make decisions out of a place of needing external validation, of thinking you are not good enough. You only make the decisions that come from knowing how good you are and knowing that this decision aligns with the value that you bring. For example, 1 year ago, if someone would have asked me for a discount, I likely would have given a discount straight away, because I just wanted to feel like I was good enough. Whereas now, again, I have people contacting me every single day asking about sessions, asking about intuitive readings. Never mind that the prices are actually on the website, but some of them might say, okay, thank you, but this is not for me now, or I cannot afford it now. But I do not think for a second about discounting myself or asking them, maybe, what can you afford? Maybe I'll just come towards you, because I know my worth. I know the worth of the value that I bring, and therefore I do not rush to offer people crazy discounts just so that they come into my world. And what happens is the people who do pay my prices and who do come into my world are a lot more aligned, because they understand the value of this work. They see the value in what I bring and in my solution, and they are much better quality clients. So what happens is I decline clients who say that they cannot afford it, because those clients anyway are not at the level of the clients that I work with, the level of clients that I do work with. Either they can easily afford, which is great, or you know what, they have to work a little bit, they have to find a way to afford my services, but they are the right types of clients for me, and therefore they receive my broadcast off. My services are worth it for you, and they find a way to pay me, and they pay me, and they are always so happy that they did it, because their life changes. So by having this personal power and conviction, what happens is I also only attract the kind of people that I actually want to work with, that are suitable for this kind of work, and that do the work. And this means that I do not work nearly as many hours as I did when I was a fitness coach, for example, but I earn probably 10 times per hour than I did back then. I'm saying 10 times, that is probably not accurate, but I do not have the patience to calculate or check that intuitively. So that is just what I'm saying. But it is true. When I was working as a fitness coach, I was working 10, 12-hour days for just barely a full-time salary, what I would basically earn as a full-time employee. What happens when you truly root in your skill, in your value, and how incredible you are and how incredible your solution is? You get to charge more, you get to have higher standards, and you get to lead a higher quality life when you get paid more for working less, but the value that you bring is so much higher that it is worth it both for you and for your clients. Now, listen, this work is not easy work. This is something that's important for me to emphasize. It is not easy work. When you first hear about the concept of needing to believe that you are the best of the best, as we said before, that can be really hard to wrap your head around, to grasp. Like, how can I see myself as the best of the best? This is something that takes time, but that once it clicks, and that can take a year, or that can take a few weeks. It really depends on your starting point and how quickly you're willing to make the change. But once that clicks, that is when that tree shoots up and you'll really start seeing the results in practice. And I'm going to give you a really great tool to start this work with. But what's important for me to say is each person will have their own specific tools that will work for them. And that is why one-on-one work is always the best solution for anyone, especially when you work with someone who is led by intuition like me. Because when a client comes to me, I have a whole arsenal of tools: energetics tools, subconscious rewiring tools, neuroscience tools. But I will not just give them that arsenal. I will check intuitively what will bring their levels of personal conviction to the high 80s and high 90s in the fastest way. What will make most sense to them, what their higher self tells me are the tools that will truly work fastest for them and with the least resistance. There could be resistance at the beginning, but the tools that I give each and every client, they will always be different. Two clients will never get the same tools from me, even if they have the same level, like 23% self-image in the business area of life. They will not get the exact same tools because those tools have to be customized to you and what will make sense to you. We are all unique individual beings, and therefore what works for one person might work for another person, but might just take person B much longer. So this is why working one-on-one with a mentor or a coach is so incredibly beneficial at accelerating timelines. And if this is something that you would like to explore, again, this is foundational. Before you even take any physical action, people pick up energetically on your levels of personal conviction. And therefore, if you do not believe that you are truly the best of the best at what you do, there is no point at investing so much of your time and energy in all this physical action. This is foundational, and this is something that needs to be in the high 80s or 90s for all of your physical actions to succeed. So if you know that you could be more convicted in who you are, in your value, and in what you bring into the world. And by the way, when you are truly convicted, that is when you suddenly see the right actions, and suddenly you see why certain actions may have not worked for you. Maybe you need to change direction altogether. I can tell you, for example, that when I started this business, I thought I did not like working one-on-one with clients because I hated doing that when I was a fitness coach. So I was like, I just want to work with groups. I am great at leading a group of people, which is still true. So I was like, I just want to run courses, workshops, programs. I do not want to work one-on-one with people. But once I truly worked my levels of personal conviction in who I am and my values, suddenly I realized I love working one-on-one with people. And my work nowadays is mainly around one-on-one. I'm not even pulled to doing that much group work anymore. And that is because my levels of personal conviction went up so much that suddenly the way for the business to grow and the way for me to make more money, bring in more clients, and have more impact changed. Once your levels of personal conviction go up, that is when the path of the physical action that you need to take and the avenues that you need to take to bring more revenue in, that is when they can change based on your levels of personal conviction. Because now I just know how much I can help people, that I trust myself in one-on-one work. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyways, if this is something that you know you need to work on, I invite you to book an intuitive read, a session, or a package of sessions. And truly, I always recommend to all of my clients to not just book a single session, because when you work with someone over time, and with my clients, honestly, the 4-session package will bring everyone incredible results after just 4 sessions. That that is why I really recommend booking a few sessions and not just one, because over the few sessions, we can work on all the different pillars of the PAF framework, on the frequency, on identity, on physical action. We can see changes over time and we can get tools over time to really accelerate your results. But if this is something that you know you are interested in, you know you need to work on, you know it is foundational, and you don't know how to truly get yourself to believe that you are the best of the best, I invite you to book sessions, a single session or an intuitive read, or apply for the Sovereign Mentorship. The link, the website is finally up, the new website. So the link is in the show notes or description box. But let's start with just one tool that I want you to implement this week and really over the next few months. I want you to affirm every single day, but not through just generic affirmations because they don't work. I want you to affirm why you are the best of the best at doing what you do. And every single day, I want you to find at least one piece of proof for why that is true. And as I said, yes, you could have a mentor with decades of experience more than you, with a pipeline of clients, people who wait a year to have a session with them. But you can still find ways for why you are the best of the best at what you do, even more than them, because you have a life experience that they do not have. You have certain qualifications that they do not have. You maybe explain certain concepts more than they do. You might be more relatable to your clients, and therefore your clients would actually benefit more from you because they like this relatability over this person who's on a pedestal. You might have more patience because you haven't been doing this for decades, and your clients actually need that patience. They need you to listen to them. Maybe you're a really great listener, and the fact that right now you do not have a year wait list for clients, that means you actually get to pay more attention to your clients and therefore provide better value. I can tell you about myself, the fact that I combine energy work, human design reading, intuitive reading, my academic background in identity, and all the different things I'm not going to list now, that makes me more valuable than my mentors for the right people, because I have this incredible arsenal of tools and this incredible arsenal of knowledge that they do not have, at least not in the same way. And the clients that come to me, if someone comes to you, if someone purchases your product or a session from you or books you for something or whatever that is because their higher self told them, usually subconsciously, because most likely they do not actually know how to talk to their higher self consciously. This is something that we do here, but most people don't do it. That is because their higher self told them that they need you over anyone else. So I want you to remember that if you have clients, that is because they need you and they need what you have to give and your value over someone that you put on a massive pedestal. So take this tool and implement it daily over the next few months. Root to it every single day, and you will see how you start broadcasting you being the best of the best at being you and at what you do. And you will see how that already starts shifting things in your creator field and therefore in the results that you are getting. So this is it from me for today. This was our episode about personal power, personal conviction, identity, and self-image. Again, if you know you need more help in this area and you understand that without your personal power and conviction being at the high 80s or 90s, you cannot actually achieve what you want and you cannot actually take your full potential and materialize it in the physical world, I invite you to work with me. Check out the link in the show notes. I also invite you to access the free training, Make It Inevitable, which breaks down the PAF framework with tools for each and every pillar. So additional tools to what I gave you today, even in the identity pillar. So make sure you access that. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, if you love this podcast, I would so appreciate it if you rated it at 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, and if you know of someone that could benefit from listening to this, share this with them. Share it on your Instagram stories and tag me. This really helps getting the podcast out there and reaching more people, helping more people access this incredibly high level, high value information that isn't spoken about enough. So thank you so much for being here. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the next episode where we discuss physical action. And there is a lot to say about that. So I will see you then. Have a great rest of your day or night whenever you are listening. I love you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.